In a forgotten corner of a quiet town, a paralyzed dog lay abandoned, teetering on the edge of death. His eyes, once bright with life, now told a story of neglect and despair. The silence around him was heavy with hopelessness, until a stranger, driven by an unyielding compassion, appeared on the scene. With a single, daring act of kindness, this individual challenged fate, stepping into a situation many would have passed by. In that brief moment, the balance shifted from despair to the faint pulse of hope. What pushed this stranger to risk everything for a dog everyone else had written off? And how would this simple act of mercy unravel into a journey of unexpected recovery and connection? This is not just a rescue. It's a spark that ignited a tale of resilience, love, and second chances that will leave you questioning the true meaning of hope. In a small town where the streets tell stories of old memories and quiet struggles, there lived a dog whose life seemed to have lost its spark. Once a loyal companion, he now faced a grim fate. This dog, paralyzed and left behind, lay in a forgotten corner of a rundown shelter. His body, weakened by neglect, could no longer carry him forward, and his eyes reflected the deep sorrow of abandonment. Every day, the dog waited for a chance, a sign, a gentle touch, any whisper of hope. The community had nearly written him off, accepting that his pain was beyond repair. Neighbors passed by without a second glance, caught in the routine of their daily lives. But deep down, many wondered if fate could offer a second chance for someone so clearly in need. The air was thick with questions, and the silence around him grew louder than any cry for help. The dog's story is a testament to the harsh realities of life, where sometimes even the purest souls suffer the worst. His paralysis was not just physical. It was a mark of a life filled with missed opportunities and lost moments. Yet, even in his despair, there remained a spark, a quiet plea for kindness that begged to be heard. His struggle was simple and raw, a reminder that every living being deserves care and respect. In the background, life went on. The town's clock ticked steadily, marking the relentless passage of time, while the dog's existence was measured in moments of silent agony and fleeting hope. Every creak of the floor, every murmur of the wind, reminded him of the life that still pulsed outside his lonely refuge. It was as if the world was trying to tell him that no one was truly forgotten, even if the eyes of many had grown callous over the years. Despite the weight of his isolation, the dog's spirit was not yet completely broken. There was a vulnerability in him that hinted at a history of love and loyalty. Memories of running through sunlit fields and playing fetch in the park still lingered in his mind. Memories that whispered of a time when he was cherished and loved. But those days had faded, leaving behind only the bitter taste of betrayal and neglect. In this quiet battle between despair and the faint promise of a new dawn, the dog's plight served as a silent alarm. His story echoed through the empty corridors of the shelter, a call for someone to notice, to care, and to change the course of his fate. And while the town slept, the seeds of change were quietly sown, unnoticed by most, yet potent in their promise. Keep watching as this narrative unfolds, because sometimes the smallest gesture can rewrite the harshest of destinies. A single act of kindness is about to ripple through the silent world, turning what seemed like a final chapter into the beginning of an extraordinary journey. One chilly evening, as the wind whispered through the empty streets, the dog's quiet suffering was interrupted by the sound of footsteps. A stranger, whom many would have overlooked, slowed down near the shelter. His eyes quickly caught sight of the paralyzed dog, lying vulnerable and alone. There was no hesitation in his heart, only a deep, genuine concern that urged him to act. The stranger knelt beside the dog, speaking softly with a tone that was both firm and kind. He gently touched the dog's head, as if saying without words, "I see you, and I will not let you be forgotten." In that quiet moment, the distance between two very different lives began to shrink. The stranger carefully examined the dog's condition, noticing every sign of pain and neglect. His heart ached at the sight of the abandoned animal, and with each careful gesture, he communicated a promise of hope. The dog, though weakened and frail, sensed a change. There was something in the stranger's eyes, a spark that promised more than just temporary relief. It was the kind of look that spoke of second chances and the belief that every life is worth fighting for. As the stranger gently wrapped the dog in a worn, warm blanket, it was clear that this was more than just an act of charity. It was a commitment to a future that, until now, had seemed lost. Walking slowly through the town with the dog carefully cradled in his arms, the stranger's resolve deepened. He carried the animal to a nearby veterinary clinic, where experts could provide the care needed. Every step was measured, as if each footfall was a beat in a heart that was rediscovering its rhythm. Along the way, passers-by paused, silently acknowledging the profound connection unfolding before them. As doctors and nurses examined the dog, the stranger stood by, watching every movement with a mix of anxiety and hope. He spoke softly to the dog as if sharing secrets of survival, his voice a gentle reminder that no one should be left behind. The clinic buzzed with the energy of small miracles, each heartbeat, each kind word shared between caregivers and the stranger. In that space, the dog's struggle began to transform into a fight for life, nurtured by the steady presence of someone who believed in him. The night deepened, and as the vet gave the first signs of hopeful recovery, the stranger's eyes shimmered with quiet victory. The dog, now showing signs of alertness and responsiveness, seemed to understand that his life was being rewritten. Every careful step in the recovery process was a testament to the power of compassion and the unspoken promise that a better day was on the horizon. In the days that followed, the dog's journey toward recovery began slowly but surely. The veterinary team worked carefully, and every small sign of progress was celebrated as a victory. The dog, once resigned to his fate, now showed tiny sparks of life. He blinked more often, lifted his head with effort, and listened closely whenever someone spoke to him. It was as if he was gathering strength from every gentle word and caring touch. At home, the man who had once been a stranger set up a quiet space where the dog could rest comfortably. Simple changes made a big difference. Soft blankets, a warm light, and the steady rhythm of caring hands created an environment that felt safe and welcoming. Every day, he recorded the dog's progress, noting even the smallest improvement. It was a careful process, full of hope and routine checkups that reassured both of them that change was possible. The road was not without its challenges. There were moments when the dog's condition seemed to worsen before it improved. Each setback was met with determination. The man researched new therapies and reached out to experts, always looking for ways to help the dog regain his strength. As the days turned into weeks, the community began to notice the change. Neighbors who once walked by without a second thought now paused to admire the bond between them. They saw a slow transformation where despair was replaced with a steady march toward recovery. During one quiet afternoon, as the dog managed a small, shaky walk on his own, the man felt a surge of hope. It was a simple step, yet it was a giant leap compared to where they had started. The dog's progress was a reminder that recovery is a mix of hard work, love, and persistence. In that moment, he shared a quiet smile and whispered, "Keep going." This word, though simple, carried the weight of every lesson learned along the way. There is much more to learn about resilience and the strength found in kindness. In every small step, there is a story of determination, one that shows how simple acts of care can transform lives. With time, the dog began to show signs of his old self. His eyes sparkled with a glimmer of recognition when he saw his caregiver, and he started to respond to familiar commands. Each improvement was a new chapter in their shared story. They spent hours together, rebuilding trust and exploring a new routine that brought back fragments of happier times. Over time, the man who had once been a stranger was no longer so. He had become a trusted guardian and a true friend, a constant in the dog's reborn life. But even as the dog improved, the road ahead remained uncertain. There were days filled with minor relapses, and every new achievement was balanced by the memory of his past struggles. The recovery journey was a constant mix of joy and worry, a delicate dance between hope and the lingering shadows of his earlier pain. The caregiver, aware of each fragile step, never lost sight of the fact that every day was a gift, every moment a chance to rewrite fate. And so, as the dog took another hesitant step forward, the promise of a better future shimmered in the distance. Yet, just when it seemed that the hardest part was over, an unexpected twist began to surface, one that would challenge everything they had built so far. As the days grew longer and the bond between the dog and his caregiver deepened, life seemed to regain its lost colors. The once paralyzed dog now moved with a cautious hope, each step a quiet victory over the darkness of his past. Together, they shared moments of gentle joy and hard-fought progress, a simple life transformed by the power of care and compassion. But just as a new rhythm settled in, a shadow crossed their path. One crisp morning, while the dog rested under the soft glow of dawn, a knock echoed at the door. The caregiver opened it to find a familiar face from the past, someone whose return stirred up long-forgotten memories and unanswered questions. This visitor's eyes held secrets that did not fit the peaceful scene of recovery. There was a tension in the air, a silent warning that not all was as it seemed. The stranger turned friend pause, his expression caught between determination and worry. The visitor's unexpected arrival threatened to unravel the quiet progress they had built together. With the dog's hopeful eyes fixed on him, the caregiver hesitated, unsure whether to welcome this ghost from the past or shield the fragile new life he had nurtured. What did this visitor want? And how would this reunion affect their hard-won recovery? The answer hung in the balance, leaving us to wonder if the journey of hope was about to face a challenge it never saw coming.